In this Profiles in Badassery, we talk to Aline Neres, a Brazilian black belt living in Brisbane, Australia. In this conversation, Aline talks about her journey from white belt to black and all of the triumphs and tribulations in between. How after she received her black belt, she moved to Brisbane, Australia, and some of the language barriers she had to overcome to live in her new home. Welcome, fellow badass. Thank you for meeting me. And instead of me, because I tried to do a little bit of research, but I think most of your stuff is on Instagram. So it's a lot of pictures. Yeah. I went all the way back to like 2014. I was like, ugh.
Yeah.
But instead of me trying to Insta stalk you, tell me a little bit about yourself. Tell me what you want people to know about you.
Oh, that's a hard one.
First off, let's start with your name.
Yeah. So I'm Aline, but usually people, especially here, call me Lee because it's easy. Every time people say my name wrong, they call me Aline.
I was looking at Aline.
Yeah, good. You did it right.
Oh, well, it's close. Well, I speak Spanish. I'm a Spanish teacher, so
cool.
That's why I looked at it. I said Aline Neres.
So, yeah, Aline Neres. Yeah. And I'm 28, Brazilian. Started training Jiu Jitsu in 2011. And in 2018, I moved to Australia to teach.
Oh, cool. So, yeah. Okay, you started in 2008 in Brazil, correct? No, 2011. I'm sorry, I got another person.
Yeah, I started in 2011 in Brazil.
All right.
Yeah.
Then I'll keep sorry.
Sorry?
I'm sorry. I was about to cut you off. You were saying I started in 2008 in Brazil, and then.
Yeah, I started in 2011 in Brazil, and it's a crazy thing because since my first class, I never had a break because first class I got in love with Jiu-Jitsu and I was like, oh my God. I got out of the first class feeling so broken but so empowered that I was like, oh my God, I'm never going to stop doing this. And I didn't.
Yeah, I concur. Like my first class, I was like, this is awful. Let me do this again.
Yeah, this is awful. I love it.
Yeah. So you started in 2008. Where exactly in Brazil are you from?
I'm from São Paulo.
Oh, so, Lord. São Paulo's huge. Like I did not understand how huge it was until one of my girlfriends that I work with, they went to Brazil. She said São Paulo's huge. It's
huge. I always joke here because the state of São Paulo, only the state has more people than the whole Australia. So,
well, I know why, because Australia is full of animals that I don't want to do. I'm like, nah, I'm good. Like spiders and bats.
Oh, yeah.
Nah, I'm good. I'm good right here. So,
yeah.
So when you started Brazilian Jiu Jitsu, you were in love with it. Did you ever have, because I always ask this because there's white belts that are like, I'm frustrated. Did you ever have a point in which you were just completely and totally frustrated?
Oh, yeah, all the time. When I was a white belt, I'll never forget. This is a memory that always stay in my mind. One day that I finished training, went home very sad, got in the shower and started crying.
Oh, yeah. Shower tears are the best.
Yeah, because first of all, when I started my team, there was no other girls. Because before Jiu-Jitsu, I used to train Muay Thai. And then when I was training Muay Thai, I was always watching Jiu-Jitsu. And I was like, oh my God, that's so cool. But there was no girl. So I was like, okay, when a girl join, I'll do it. And then I waited a year and no girls joined. And then I was like, okay, you have to be me. And the funny thing is, after I joined, like 1 month later, many girls came. So I think everybody was just waiting for the first one to do it.
Yeah. Yeah, that's kind of how it was at my first gym. Like there was women that would come and go. They would like be there for like a show.
but I was the one that stuck around. I was like consistently the only woman there for like, gosh, I said about 2, 3 years. Like
Yeah, and
it was a
it's
long
not
stretch.
easy. It's not easy. I don't know how things are over there, but in Brazil, the guys definitely don't want to get beaten by a girl, so they would like crash you.
Oh yeah, same here. Same here.
Should be the same. Should be the
Yeah,
same.
this is about the same, but I would say that there are certain guys that respect, because right now I'm a purple belt, and there are certain guys that if I beat them, they're like, "How did you do that?" They really want to know, which to
Yeah.
me, that is complimentary. I'm like, you
Yeah.
like, I feel like there's a respect level there. But in Brazil, I done heard some stories. I done heard, I was like,
Yeah.
Brazil's a completely different it's a completely different animal there because it's
Yeah, it's like very competitive, so there's never like there's hardly the oh good job. It's like I'm going to kill you.
yeah, yeah,
So like at the beginning, like I started when I was 17, 18. So I was like 10 kilos lighter than I am right now. So it wasn't easy, but you know, I found people to help me. The more girls joined, and that's how I did it. I think what motivated me was like every time someone was beating me, I would think, I'm gonna train hard and I'm going to get you.
yeah. That's what it was like. You got me this time. It's like go
Wait
home,
for it.
celebrate that because you're not gonna get it twice. So yeah,
Yeah.
my question is because I noticed on Instagram, I look at your like when you're standing next to the other black belts, you were like, how tall are you if you don't mind?
Okay. I'm 153. I'm very short.
One
I don't
hundred
know how much that in feet. I think it's 5.0, something like that.
here, let me see,
I'm very short.
153 centimeters in feet.
Yeah.
You are 5 foot tall. You
Yeah.
are
I'm
wow.
very
That's
short.
you are literally 5 feet tall. Like
Yeah.
you were. I was like, she looks small, and I was like, yeah, because 5 feet tall. Yeah, I'm 5'5" and a half. I'm adding that half because I'm taking all the inches I can. But like five
Yeah, I'm
foot
very
five,
small.
and you said how many kilograms smaller were you?
So, actually more because now I weigh 58. When I
58.
started training, I was 43. So it's like even less than 50 kilos.
Yeah, like yeah. I'm sorry. I had to do a little bit of what do you call it? Conversion because you said 48 kilos. 48 kilos, 105 pounds. You literally
Yeah.
are soaking wet. Like
Yeah.
like you were tiny. So you
I
were,
was very, very tiny.
and you said you're like 53 now.
58. 58
58.
now.
You still small. 120 pounds. That's tiny. You are tiny. You are a little
Yeah.
woman. Like that is impressive that you got to black belt. When did you get to black belt? Did you get it in Brazil or in Australia?
I got it in Brazil in 2018,
Yeah.
and then after I moved to Australia.
Okay. See here. So that's crazy. You are literally 125 pounds, 100, probably 100 pounds soaking wet, and you got a black belt in Brazil. And we all know that Brazilians, God bless you. Yeah, some of your countrymen are a little crazy. Just
Yeah.
twist, just a little bit. They're a little crazy over there. So if you got a black belt over there, that's pretty hardcore. So you started in 2011 because I kept saying 2008. That's my fault because somebody else has
Yeah.
said 2008 and I got that stuck in my head. I am sorry. You started in 2011. You had the white belts. And the really interesting question that you got your black belt because I'm kind of skipping over your whole trajectory. Why did you move to Australia?
It's a funny, crazy story. So in 2018, I came on a holiday, and then on my holiday, I got there was a gym near where I was staying. So because I didn't want to stay without training, I was training there, and then because we became very good friends. And then I went back to Brazil, and as soon as I got my black belt, my friends were like, "No, you are an asset. You need to come back to Australia." So they arranged for me to come and teach you.
No. Well, that must be because I've seen your videos. I'm like, she's quite impressive, quite impressive. So you said because you have to be probably the smallest,
Yeah.
like shortest, the smallest. How did you like? How did you like flesh out your game? Because like when you're that small, you play a different game than I do. You're probably very much quicker. Like me, I just lay on you because like how many kilos would I be? I'm 175 pounds, 170, 175 pounds. So that's about 87, no, about 75, 76 kilos.
Okay. Yeah.
I'm a big girl. I'm not like yeah. I got a little comfort, little belly right here. Yeah. So I just kind of crush you. But how did you flesh out your game? How did you discover your game throughout that? Because I know those dudes was like no.
Uh, it's funny saying that, but I discover my game by getting beaten all the time.
Yeah.
So like, let's say a person who armbar me 10 times. So I would know every way possible to do an armbar, so I would know how to defend myself. So I would say my game is more like attacking against your attack. Like
Yeah.
I wait for you to go full on it, and then I'm going to catch you on your attack.
Also, yours is more defensive. It's like
Yeah.
here's an arm for you. Here's a
Yeah.
and
Hey,
then
look at the
yeah,
arm. The arm is here.
yeah.
Catch
Oh,
it.
subterfuge. Look,
Yeah.
sabotage and subterfuge. Now, on that on that vein, what would you say of all of the in all of jujitsu? At what belt did you have that moment where you just that I always ask this? What the moment that you just not just fell in love with jujitsu because you fell in love with the first day, but what was your best moment in jujitsu that you can think of right offhand?
I think it was on my purple belt. I call it the click. When you get
Yeah,
the click and you are like, oh, I can do this. So I think it was on my purple belt. On my purple belt, I was like, I would say I was flying. I was on the top of my game, and then it was the best for me. And then when I got the brown belt, it got harder because, especially staying in competitions, on the purple belt, I had many good fights, but then on brown belt, there was no many brown belts on with my weight.
yeah,
So I started having to compete against bigger girls. So it was harder, but it was also good because I figured that, yeah, I can fight bigger people.
yeah. And I'm just thinking, like you're saying, there was not very many brown belts your size. There's not very many brown belt women, just in general. Because here in the states, I did the Indianapolis, the IBJJF Indianapolis. For
Yeah.
me, purple now, not brown, purple, and it's of course it's also my age. Not I had to drop in age. You don't need to know
Yeah.
what I am. Just FYI, nobody needs to know. But I had to drop in age just to find
Yeah.
some competition. Probably, I think some of it is because of COVID. But like
Yeah.
once you get past blue, it is extremely. It gets harder and harder to find.
That's true.
So like I'm like, that's pretty amazing that you had to go against like yeah, because at Brown you're going against bigger women, like you're just going against anybody you can get.
Yeah. On brown belt, I'll fight anyone
Yeah,
just to have a match. Yeah.
yeah. So I'm just like I'm trying to think because it's like white belt, um, blue. I probably should have asked this in reverse. So that was your best memory. Do you have a memory? One of the ones that's like the hardest thing that you've had to do in jujitsu. Like everybody has that one memory of just like, do you was like, I could quit right now. I mean, I like, but did you have that? And what was the biggest challenge you've had in jujitsu, and how did you recover? how did you recover? How did you? Oh,
So my biggest like issue was not with jiu-jitsu. I'll tell you why, and it wasn't the purple belt too. So my first year of purple belt was perfect. I was flying many competitions, but then on my second year of purple belt, I figured that I have some problems in my eyes.
oh,
So yeah, so I know I'm not sure if the name is correct in English. It's like keratoconus, something like that. Anyway, I had problems in my eyes, and I had to go through three surgeries. And the doc, I remember exactly the moment the doctor said, "You cannot fight anymore because you cannot risk having like a punch or something hard on your eyes because that could go very very bad." So I remember getting out of the doctor like with my mom, and I was like, "What am I going to do with my life now? Fighting is my life. I don't know what I'm gonna do." And and then I started like to do researches, and then I found actually there are black belts with the same problem in the eyes that I have, and I was like, oh, they are still training. And then I came to I realized, look, I could like I already hit my eye laying in bed holding my phone, and the phone fell on my
yeah.
face.
So
So
yeah,
like, of course I'm not going to MMA that I could risk a very bad punch in my eye, but think actually there was the moment that my jiu-jitsu started to get tighter because I started fighting protecting my face. So
yeah.
like I actually had to improve my jiu-jitsu to make it safer for me to train, and all good so far. So like that was the worst part for me. I got very depressed, and yeah.
Ooh, okay. I cannot imagine. That's insane. Now, you said that you moved from Brazil to
Yeah,
Australia in 2018, was it?
yeah, end of 2018. Yeah.
Okay, because you got your black belt in 2018, correct?
Yeah,
Because there's a
I got my black belt beginning of 2018, and then end of 2018 I moved to Australia.
yeah. Now here's the thing I want to know because it's got to be a complete culture shock for you to go from Brazil to Australia. What was the biggest culture shock that you had in or outside of jiu-jitsu that you experienced going from Brazil to Australia?
To be honest, I was very surprised. I was because I've been in US a few times, and I felt like much different than in Australia. I feel like that in Australia people are much more open to immigrants. Like, so I'll say I never had any problems. My only problem here is the food.
Oh yeah, yeah. Because I was thinking, because yeah, U.S. We're a little special. Just I'm not even gonna get into the politics of it. But I was just thinking because for me to move from here to Australia, number one, the accent completely throw me off because
Oh yeah, that's a good one. Good reminder there. Because when I came first time, I was like, yeah, I can speak English easy because I was used to the American English. So I was like, yeah, my English is not perfect, but I can communicate. And when I got at the airport, one of the security guards of the airport spoke with me with the Australian English. I was like, what? What the hell are you talking about?
yeah, and I have coworkers that are I have a coworker from Cuba and then a coworker from the Dominican Republic, and they both said that they can understand us perfectly okay.
Yeah.
Now, listening to something in British English, we have to
Oh
tell
yeah.
them what they're saying because, like, to me, that's mind blowing. Because, like, when I listen to British English, I don't think anything of it because it's English. It's like it's English.
Yeah.
But for people who, if it's your second language,
It's
is a
hard. It's
it's a
hard.
completely different ball game because it's like the way that we say things, where we put our inflections, the words that we use, like all of the lexicon,
The
everything.
accent here is crazy strong. Now I reminded about something that happened. So my first month here, I went to a friend's party, and then like if people are speaking, well, now for me it's alright, but at the beginning, if they were speaking very fast, I'll be like, what? And I got used to like if I don't understand and I ask twice, I'll be just smiling and hoping was not a question. I was like, oh really? And hope is not a question.
But that's like, yeah, see.
Oh yeah. And
I do that.
and then and
Yeah, I
then
do that a
like
lot in Spanish.
this guy was talking and I couldn't understand, but for some reason I thought it was funny, so I laughed. And then he looked at me, that's not actually very funny. And then I got nervous and I started laughing more. And then my friend is like, oh, don't worry, don't worry. She's not Australian. And then at the end, he was talking about a story where his daughter got in a fight and broke her teeth. And I was laughing.
Like, woo! Yeah. This is, yeah. So now, from what I've seen, because that's insane. Like I feel you. I understand. I speak a second language. Sometimes if it's a different accent, like I'm used to Mexican English. I mean Mexican Spanish. I can listen to them and understand every word they're saying. Now other ones like Cubans, Dominicans. Sorry, sis.
Yeah,
They're
same.
harder to understand because they play around with the language. Like certain places, I'm like, I don't know what you're saying. Other places, like, oh yeah, it's perfect. But that once you got past the accent and the food, I'm really now kind of curious what kind of food they have. But like obviously, um, what did you start teaching first in jiu-jitsu? Because you came to teach. What did you start to teach first?
Okay, so back in Brazil, I used to teach in a social project for kids. How can I say that? From kids in like poor areas. So it was just like a personal project. But I had a friend who worked on that, so I started going and helping teaching the class. So I had experience teaching kids. So when I moved to Australia, I started teaching kids at the beginning, which I was already used to. And then a week later, I was already teaching adults. And like I remember my first time teaching an adults class by myself, like I was shaking. Because it's not only being in front of a lot of people and being judged by a lot of people. I was speaking another language, but I think I went well with that because now I'm super comfortable. And it ended up that the owner of the gym I was working, like I did so well that he was Brazilian too, and he left to Brazil, and I spent like a year taking care of his gym by myself. So yeah, it was good learning.
'Cause have you competed at black? I know you competed at brown belt, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
Have you competed at? So you've competed at brown belt. Have you competed at black belt? Because I know.
Never competed at black belt because when I moved to Australia, there was no other black belt competitors here. So
Yeah,
jiu-jitsu is still growing here in Australia.
yeah,
Now there are more girls, like recently more girls got the black belt. So in the future, I'm pretty sure I'll have people to compete against. But when I arrived here, there was no other many black belts. So I didn't get to compete yet.
yeah. So, oh, my cat then came in here now. As a competitor, what have you seen change from the time you started to now?
First of all, like the amount of girls, of course, because when I started, it wasn't big. My last competition in Brazil was as well in 2018. Was the nationals, and there was so many girls that was crazy. I was very pumped and happy to see like many girls, different belts, different sizes. So I think that is the big difference that I found. And it's becoming more professional. Like at the beginning, I remember going to competitions and it was like savages outside, like one team hating the other and yelling. Now I think it's more united. You know what I mean?
Yeah. You said that it's a lot difficult. Now it's more united because, like, it's just hard to get women to compete. Period.
Yeah.
And do you like what advice do you have for people who want to compete? Like, how do you get your mindset? Because I'm gonna be listening because I'm not real good at competing. I kind of suck at it. Just gonna be honest. But
To
what?
be honest, I would like to give that advice to old me as well, because I was a very competitive person. And like I would say, lose a fight, I would go home and cry and like tell bad things about myself. And like it was very hard, my competition time. So I would say have fun. that's the thing, you know. And people who matter, like for me, the hardest part was feeling like if I lose, everybody will think bad about me. But what I learned is now that I coach my students and I take them to competitions, is people who matter are proud of you, winning or losing. You know what I mean? Your family, your coaches, your friends. And if there is someone who's judging you, they don't matter. So
Yeah.
the people who matter are proud of you regardless. So I think if you compete, taking out of that weight of like, oh, I can't lose, the experience will be much better.
Yeah. And as it's because I know it's different to compete yourself versus having your students compete.
Yeah.
What has been your proudest moment in teaching? Well, let's start with competing. What has been your proudest moment in watching your students compete?
So I just moved down, so I had to leave my old students, but I had a kid, 7 years old, and that kid, he will be a world champion. You never see someone so focused, so committed. Usually kids are at home watching YouTube. His parents said he will be watching his old matches to see what he could improve.
Oh
So
man,
like, yeah.
that's
So
crazy.
like his
And he's
first
seven.
7, yes. His first 3 comps he lost, and like usually kids cry, and it's normal. I used to cry and don't want to do it anymore. Every time he lost, he'll be like, why should I train to get better? So the first time he got a gold was like my it felt like it was mine. It was my
Yeah,
gold.
that's amazing. Like yeah, he probably is going to be a world champion because I've never heard of a 7-year-old.
7 years old, and like he's there every class. He's not playing around. He has fun, and
He's
he has
super
his A
focused.
game. Yeah.
Super
And like
focused.
he was very little, and he'll beat all the big kids. It's even fun. Like he'll make the big kids cry.
Oh, that's the best. If you gave any kind of advice to newcomers, people who are coming up in the ranks, what would it, especially women and especially Black women, what would it be? I mean, you could just say women in general. It could be Black women, but if you had any kind of advice for women coming up, what would it be?
I would say speak out, because many times during my journey I saw things that I disagree, and it made me feel uncomfortable, and I was always afraid to be I don't want to be the girl who complains. And now I learned, yeah, be the girl who complains. If someone make you uncomfortable, let them know they're making you uncomfortable. Because like, especially women in jiu-jitsu is a male dominant sport, they can try to put us down a lot. So
Yeah,
my advice is speak up. Know your worth. You
yeah,
know, we are worthy to be there as much as they are. So speak out.
yeah. So that's. Do you have any times that, like, any times in particular you don't mind sharing that you spoke up or you didn't speak up, and how did you
Oh
rectify
yeah,
it?
like when I started, I heard many times like that there was black belt. I think if you reach the black belt, you should think about your words, you know. And when back when I was blue white belt, I could hear like they'll never say that in front of me, but they will say that close to me that the mats are not a place for women. Like women are here just to, you know, and like you could see that people use you only for the rest row and those things. So I would speak up. Like we are worth to be there as much as the guys are.
Yeah, and I'm like, it's probably I hate to be stereotypical, but I'm like, it's probably 10 times worse in Brazil because that's
Yeah.
kind of part of the machismo culture. Just oh,
Yes.
you need to be like barefoot, pregnant, and in the kitchen type thing. I'm like, oh no, no.
Yeah.
I'm like, well, I feel like this. I'm just the type that would say this. If I'm not if I'm not supposed to be here, neither is my money. Cause like you gotta
Yeah,
pay.
exactly.
Because it's like, wait a second, who turns away a paying? Like at the end of the day, it is a service. Who turns away a paying customer, even if it's a woman? Like,
Yeah.
and what I've never understood as a woman in jiu-jitsu is why men don't want women to train. And then I started realizing that's because some of the men that don't want you to train don't want you to be able to they want to be able to straight out abuse you, just straight out. They
Yeah.
want you to learn how to. They don't want you to learn how to defend yourself. So that's
Yeah.
whenever I see a man that's like, "Oh, women don't belong on the mats," I'm like, "No, why do you think that?" Because if anybody on earth needs to be on the mats, it needs to be women. Because like
Exactly.
we are the ones that are in danger. They don't have to deal with a fraction of the danger that we have to deal with pretty much on a
Exactly.
daily basis. So I 100%,
I think
100%.
every woman, even if you're not going to become a fighter, you should do jiu-jitsu to learn at least to learn the basics about how to defend yourself. I think it's not even like the physical. By training, you develop like self-confidence. That you walk with your chest up, and I think people notice that. No, I'm not gonna mess with that one.
Yeah, because sometimes you just have to give off that air of I'm not the one you're gonna mess with. I'm not the one
Yeah.
to be messed with. I'm just not. So I tell you this cat. All right, but it's just like I 100% agree. It's like, and unfortunately I had to learn the hard way. Don't let people just don't let them talk to you a certain that's any kind of way. Stand up for yourself.
Yeah.
It's kind of sad. It's really sad. But it's always going to be the question: if they don't want you to learn how to defend yourself, why? Because
Why exactly?
if they are worth anything, if they're any kind of good, they want you to know how to defend yourself. So, other than that, like that was a wonderful interview. I
Yeah,
really,
lots of fun.
uh, if I missed something, please, we could always interview again. It's been enjoyable. Thank you so much for your time, and I
No
hope to see you.
worries.
I probably won't see you
I'm glad
around.
that finally happened.
Yeah, because it's the time change is ridiculous.
Yeah.
But thank you so much. All right, see you
Thank
later.
you. Thank you for inviting me. I'm
No
glad.
problem.